friends, thanks for joining us again. Do us a favor, smash that subscribe button. Thank all of you who have already subscribed to our channel. We've seen this channel grow like crazy, especially during the Grey Cup last year, and we're so excited for this year. So thank you all. Smash that subscribe and follow. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, check us out social media. We're Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Check us out also on Discord and Reddit, and leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
Let's get right into it with some Winnipeg Blue Bomber talk. Blue Bomber talk brought to you by Fahrenheit Airbrushing. Stand out on the ice, pavement, or the field, or in the stands with a custom airbrushed helmet, goalie mask, or project. A local Manitoba business with affordable solutions for any project. Check out Fahrenheit Airbrushing on Facebook or call them at 204-891-7431.
And don't forget to tell them that Ray and Benny sent ya.
So what's your number one concern with the team right now?
Everything. No.
Well, what's your number one concern?
I guess it always starts with the quarterback, right? And for me, that's my number one concern right now. Zach Laros has not been on his game so far this year, translating kind of over even from the Grey Cup last year. But yeah, when you play 2 games, Zach Laros with no touchdown so far, 3 interceptions. That's some pretty wonky stats coming out of Zach Laros, who's been the MOP in this league before. So we need him to step it up. We need him to lead this team. And he's got to stop making mistakes. Those 2 interceptions, I know it was one's a tip ball, but he had the guy right in front of him. He had the guy right in front of him. He could have seen him. And then late in the game, when you had the opportunity to you had just taken the lead, you had the opportunity to build that. You're at midfield, and then he threw another costly interception. And the Bombers they didn't score after that. And besides that, safety. But yeah. My concern, Zach Laros.
How much of his play or his erratic play do you put on the offensive line and him not being able to get into a rhythm or any kind of consistency with him always, like he's rarely set passing the ball. He's usually on the move or moving away from someone, getting out of the pocket or getting out of a broken down pocket. How much of that do you put on the O-line in their inconsistent play? Because they have been inconsistent. Not my number one, but they have been.
Yeah, I mean, in the second half especially, but the first half not so much. I mean, the first half they were not. I mean, second half they were bad. First half, they were a lot better, and he still was struggling to move that ball. I mean, how long did it take for the Bombers to actually get a touchdown in that game? So he's missing receivers, and not just him. He's hitting receivers who are dropping the ball. Drew Wolotarski, it's like, okay, what's going on? So, yeah, the rhythm of whole offense is out, and it starts with Zach Laros. And again, with that O-line, it struggled in that second half. And that one series there where they got the 2 holding calls to go backwards when they really needed some points. It was like, wow, but
they're not playing well at all.
No, that's definitely a factor. And the funny thing is, it's the interior of the line, right? We're all worried about Lofton, but right now, Neufeld, Kolinkowski, and Dobson, who's still first year really starting, struggled, and Ottawa got at them pretty good in that game, especially even that last play that they had at the 7, that third down, right? No time for Claus.
And the GOAT can't be above criticism, Stanley Bryant. Like, much respect, Hall of Famer, how many times in a row Offensive Lineman of the Year total, but he has not been spectacular either. There's been some pressure on his Collaros' backside. That is directly Stanley Bryant's responsibility. So all across that O-line has been oof. My number one concern has been that play calling. Yeah, the injuries are there, and those will always be a concern when you have a team going into the season with a lot of experience. They've gone through the grind. They've gone through extended seasons for the past 4 or 5 seasons, going deep into the playoffs in the Grey Cup. Right now, they have 6 projected starters out due to injury. But this offensive play calling is mind-boggling. First game, 11 carries, 14 touches for the CFL's MVP. Yes, there's injuries there, but the game plan definitely shouldn't have changed. They've got to feed the running backs. Johnny Augustine in the second game, 7 carries, 9 touches combined. That's mind-boggling when the opposing defense can neglect the run game without having actually stopped it. That's ridiculous to me. Where are the screenplays that's incorporated with the running game and get the running backs going? Where are those screenplays to widen out and spread out the opponent's defense? You know, where's the lack of crossing routes? We talk about the Bombers being on the 7-yard line with a chance to score. There were barely no crossing routes to try and confuse the tight coverage that they had within 10 yards. And of course, the non-existent use of the heavy set and tight end offense is frustrating with a capital F. I don't get that. You're trying to get the mismatches on the field. And when you have 6 offensive linemen with a defense that's sending just the defensive line, there's your mismatch. There's your mismatch. And start from there. And also the lack of using Nick Dembski in creative ways is puzzling. Before we see this guy go across the line with motion, now we don't see that as much. He's not part of the running game with this jet sweeps or anything. And the lack of a Chris Streveler package, just these offensive play calls and decisions are like, they're befuddling, they're disappointing, and the offense looks pretty predictable right now. So for me right now, I'm not going to put it all on Buck Pierce. I don't know what goes on in the meeting rooms and how they come to these decisions, but the play calling across the board on the offense has just been horrible.
Yeah, and I gotta agree. And the funny thing is, because this offense has been around, it's been around together. A few changes here and there with obviously the Lawler injury and the 2 new guys on the offensive line, but this offense should be more in rhythm. And Buck Pierce has been here for what now? Since 2019 as OC. After that, 2020, I guess.
Yeah.
Or whatever the wipeout season was there, kind of thing. So yeah, I expect more out of them too. And the running, like 7 runs for Augustine. Like, come on, man. Like we talked about it before. There should have been more of Oliveira being the feature of this offense. And unfortunately, he came in training camp. He's hurt. He hasn't been able to play. He played the first game, hasn't played the second game. He's still not practicing this week. So we'll see what he does for BC. But yeah, Augustine's still a good running back. Use him a little bit more. Even on that, when you got to the 7, where is he? Where is Augustine? He just hit a 4-yard TD run earlier in the game. So yeah, the offense needs to pick it up. And that's where the Bombers are. Like, how many points have they scored in 2 weeks here?
Horrible.
Yeah.
No plays. Like, what is the number one? And like, how are you getting Dalton shown open? Are you just depending on one-on-one matchups all the time? Like, what is sorry to sound so negative. Sorry to sound so negative, but that's kind of where they are at 0-2 right now. I still believe that they're a good team and they'll come around it because they have that veteran leadership, but it's not looking good right now.
Well, even with Dalton shown what that second down pass, or was it the first down pass when they got to the 7, he had shown open. But Ottawa was focused on that, right? And the pass, it could have been maybe a little bit better, a little bit harder. I don't know, but their DB got back there and he knocked the ball away because they knew he was probably going to Dalton Schoen in that situation.
I'm going to go ahead a question. So adjust, but should Chris Streveler have been used during that time? They had 3 shots at the 7-yard line.
No doubt. No doubt in my mind. First down should have been at least a run. You put Streveler on there, you put Augustine, even if you want to leave Claros in there, you put all those guys back there and confuse Ottawa, and then win that battle. You get 5, if you get 5 yards on a run there, hey, then you can just pound it in on 2 more runs, basically, with Streveler behind the line. If you don't get anything on that, you still got 2 more shots for the end zone. But now you change things up, because that third down play to me was a bust anyways, because they didn't get an opportunity to even throw the ball there. And that, like you said, that was only a 4-man rush on that one too.
Yeah.
And I think Zach Claros panicked a little bit in that pocket, went the wrong way, and it led right into an Ottawa guy's lap. But again, guys were open there. That O-line was struggling on that play too. So yeah, Streveler should have been in there. Something should have been done with Streveler, even if you don't use him. Even if you don't use him.
Like, even with Streveler in there, that doesn't mean automatic run, but it does mean that Ottawa has to respect the possibility of Streveler's run and leave more guys in the box. So that means you're leaving a receiver open somewhere. And yes, Chris Streveler is not the best passer, but this is a 7-yard situation. I truly believe in my heart that he has grown a little bit from when he was starter as the Bombers. And even as starter as the Bombers, he still was able to complete passes like that. So just the not putting him in, and again, that goes to offensive play calling.
And what this is a scenario for me where you would use him. Like, why else did you bring him in? You didn't bring him in to sneak. We had Prukop for that. Prukop was just as good at that, and Prukop scored a touchdown this weekend too doing that. So for me with Streveler, I was hoping they bring him in and do other things from, like we saw in the first game where he ran after a handoff from Claros, stuff like that. But we're not seeing it so far.
In week 1, where was that?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like, yes, it's going to be a negative one this week because they're 0-2. We're not familiar with this. It's been a while. So there are more negatives to pick than positive. But believe me, we still love our Winnipeg.
We're not used to being 0-2 after a few years, right? And watching them play and watching this offense struggle the way it has. And I know they got a lot of new guys. It's only 2 weeks into the season. And look, Montreal got hot when they needed to last year, right? So lots of season to go. But yeah, right now it's a lot of negative.
So let's go encouraging. What is the number one encouraging thing with the Bombers right now? I'm going to go with the defense. I was more than willing to watch this unit find their identity for the first month of the season. But other than the beginning of the game, they were pretty strong. And they're pretty strong through some injury adversity. Like they're playing a four-man defensive line for pretty most of the second half. And
Yeah.
that's tough in the CFL. You know, when you want to get some decent pressure on the quarterback, you got to have some kind of rotation going. And when you're playing the same four almost every down, that is tough. The secondary really came into form, I believe, in this game. They played strong. Not that they played horribly against Montreal. They actually played pretty good for a first week with some new pieces in the secondary. So yeah, I think the defense is very encouraging to me, even though Haba didn't look good on crutches today at practice. And who knows what's going on with Fox and the injury list there.
Surprised no contact with Sean Oakman there yet in Toronto or anything like that, but I agree with you with the defense, and they did give up yards, like you said. They gave up almost over 100 yards total rushing. They kept Drew Brown to about 240, which is actually the lowest in the whole league this week in terms of passing yards. They had that bend but don't break. Like they gave up the 2 touchdowns, but one was on a punt return inside, and then a couple missed tackles late in that game on Hardy there that got them inside. But I like the way Tyrell Ford and Tyrell Ford and Terrell Bonds played in that game. They didn't give up a lot considering Ford got burned pretty good against Montreal, especially on that flea flicker. So they played well and they shut down the outside pretty good. So that's encouraging to see, especially with a beat up D line that the Bombers had there. So yeah, it's good to see this D. They're turning into form, giving up yards, but hopefully Jordan Younger is getting them to play his game and they can figure out, and hopefully the injuries stop.
Yeah.
Kyrie Wilson didn't practice today. Big Hill's back at least, but Kyrie Wilson didn't practice. Haba, who's the other guys? Oliveira. Can't remember. There's another guy in D2 that didn't practice. So
Nichols.
yeah, that's it. That's who it is. Yeah, and him getting hurt too didn't help because then he left the second half of that game too. So
No. Speaking of defense, let's go to raising a glass to players of the game from the Bombers against Ottawa. Then we'll put that game to rest, kind of. I'm going to stay on defense. I'm going to give it to Reddick Ramsey. He was all over the field and showed like a huge developmental step forward, especially in regards to coverage. He was great, of course, near the line of scrimmage and coverage, but he showed a lot of skill in regards to deep coverage. I'm like, is he playing safety today? What was going on against Ottawa? He looked really good and making tackles. He's always been solid. So I was very impressed. And I'm very optimistic about this Canadian being a ratio changer. Because, you have these steady Canadians that you have in the roster, but then you have those ratio changers that are on the roster. And I think he could be one. So I'm going to give it up for Reddick Ramsey.
yeah, good choice. Good choice. I'm going to give it to Carrick Wheatfall, coming in for Kenny Lawler. Big shoes to fill. The guy ended up with 3 catches, 111 yards. Also drew a pass interference call, which helped because that was an interception on that play as well. But he looked good, even on the long touchdown. Yes, he didn't, on the long pass, he didn't finish it off for a touchdown. Maybe if he went to the outside a little bit, but hey, they got it in. Augustine got it in, but it was a great play, man. And he's wide open. And he made some big plays late in that game too to help them move down the field afterwards. So I like the way he played. And like I said, big shoes to fill. And you got guys like Dembski and Schoen in this game, and he ended up getting more yards than these guys did.
Yeah, he had that huge one.
Yeah.
20-something yards.
So encouraging to see, because even with when Lawler gets back, he's that good option for that 5th guy possibly. So
yeah. What impressed you most about the Ottawa RedBlacks?
I'm gonna go more so with their second half D. I thought their D looking at their roster and all that stuff before we previewed the game. The D was young. I thought the Bombers could take advantage of it, and they made some adjustments going into that second half, and they got after that O line of the Bombers like we talked about earlier, and disrupted Claros quite a bit. So that D line, especially when they were rushing 4, they were causing problems, and the Bombers couldn't handle it. So yeah, defensively, and usually the Red Blacks last year would lose these games. Right.
Yeah.
So they changed it around a little bit this year and played a little bit better on D and hung on really to end up winning that game. But yeah, I like the way that D played in the second half.
Yeah, their secondary played really well. Like they had corners playing man coverage for a lot of the time, and they were shutting the Bombers down. Their big receivers down, and a combination like Caleros passed for under 50% in this game.
Yeah, 15
and then,
of 31.
And like you mentioned, the second consecutive game without a TD pass, and their cornerbacks were on an island many times. So yeah, shout out to their defense. And shout out to their offensive coordinator for sticking with their run game. It wasn't working for the most part, other than the two big ones that they got. But for a defense like that, that's how you wear them down. That's how you wear them down. You just stick with this. So I was very impressed with that. I wish the Bombers would do that.
Yeah, and on that one big run, it was Brandon Alexander of all people not wrapping up Armstead in that and letting him get out, and then he broke that off. It's like, oh, it's just mistakes. It's uncharacteristic stuff that we haven't seen out of the Bombers in the last few years that they're gonna have to clean up.
Speaking of stuff that they clean up, they play the BC Lions at home. What do they need to do to win? Want to start an offense?
Yeah, sure.
Get the running game going. Focus on the running game. That includes Chris Streveler with his hands on the ball in all types of formations. And that includes throwing the ball out of these play action. Do they use play action? Did they use play action at all last game? Where's play action? Use play action. Use a heavy set. Get an extra lineman in there. Come on now. So in offense, I'm just, get the running game going, get the O-line going. Heavy set. Heavy set. Heavy set.
Yeah, I think if you can get that run game going, it takes a little bit of pressure off Collaros, who needs to bounce back in a big way and have a good game here. So if you can help him in any way, that run game would definitely help. Hopefully Oliveira can play, but I have faith in Augustine being able to do a good enough job. Not probably the same as Oliveira, but I think he can do enough to help this team. Just give him more opportunities, right? You don't need to throw 31 times in this game here. But yeah, that's where it starts for me. And the O-line obviously is a big factor in that. You can't run the ball if your O-line can't open up holes, right? So they're going to need to have a bounce back game as well, and prove that, hey, we can gel and we're going to be just as good as we were in the past few years, even with the new guys.
Yeah, you know what helped the running game? The heavy set.
Yeah.
On defense, they can't get behind early. And they did play well, but they didn't stay, when they were at their healthiest, they didn't come to play right away against Ottawa, and that put them behind the ball. 13-0?
Yeah.
They can't be behind the 8 ball, especially with an offense playing the way it is. So they just got to be focused early. I don't know if that might sound a little dumb, simple, but that's what I believe.
Well, yeah, they've been down. I mean, yes, they got that field goal against Montreal, but they've been down early in these games. Montreal came back with a touchdown after that punt fumble, but yeah, it'd be nice to see them have a lead instead of chasing the game at some point. But Vernon Adams, I mean, he's got the weapons, right? So it's going to be a good test for that Bomber D again, because they held Drew Brown in check a little bit, but he had some wide open receivers. And still, to me, Drew Brown in this game, he made some good plays, didn't make any mistakes. But he still has to prove a little bit more to me that he's actually going to be a legit starting quarterback. But Vernon Adams is that legit starting quarterback. So you can't be leaving these guys open for him, because he'll hit it, get after him. 6 sacks against Toronto, BC, and then none last week against Calgary. So, they fixed some stuff up. So that Bomber D-line is going to have to get at it. And I don't know who's going to be getting at it, because the injuries are piling up. Is Jeff Goat coming back? Jeff Goat?
Get on that phone. If you had the opportunity then as GM, would you be calling Jeffcoat or would you be calling Oakman?
I'd probably be doing Jeffcoat, just because Jeffcoat knows the team, knows the players, knows the plays. I mean, so yeah, I'd probably go that way first, but I wouldn't be upset with Oakman either.
No, he's still working out in Texas or wherever he is. I see him posting on Instagram that he's still working out.
Jeffcoat?
Football workouts, yeah. I'm not saying he's hinting comeback. No. I'm just saying he's working out. He's staying in human shape.
Right, with all these injuries and guys going on the 6th game, or their cap space is opening up a little bit, right?
Imagine that ovation if he came back.
Oh yeah, you gotta use it in a good way, man, because you can't blow any more games. I mean, sorry, they can lose more games, but I'd rather see them start to pick this back up and get back to the way the Bombers have been playing the last few years.
Absolutely. And the thing is, they're not getting their ass kicked.
No. Yeah. These games are close, right? Well, that Montreal game wasn't really close, even though the score ended up being.
But it could have been more of a disaster.
Yeah.
I think they also special teams. They need to stop your boy Terry Williams in BC. They got to be better. Terry Williams was the best returner in the CFL last year. And the Bombers weren't very good against the kick last year. And right now, the Bombers are last in punt return average, last in opponent return average, second last in kick return average, last in field goal percentage. Chipgate. Second last in punting average. Second last in kickoff average. Last place in big play return against. Like, special teams is not in a good place right now.
No, and it allowed a couple big returns last game. 28-yard return to start the game, and then that 49 punt return later that led to a touchdown.
Yes.
So, and Myron Mitchell looked a bit better, but still, it's not. He wasn't matching up with what Dedmon was doing in that game. So I don't know. What's his name is back?
Chris Smith.
Yeah, so he's been practicing this week, so we'll see if he gets in. Otherwise, you got to be picking up the phone and calling what's his name, Chandler Worthy there, who got cut by Montreal.
Yeah,
you can't mess around too long on this stuff.
Special teams is huge in the CFL. That's field position, not necessarily about scoring, but you get a 30-yard return either on punt and kick, and you're flipping that field.
Yeah, exactly. It's big, man, because that field is huge. You can easily get 20 to 30 yards half the time.
Janarian Grant.
Yeah.
Life after Janarian Grant is hard.
Yeah.
Anything else the Bombers have to do? Well, there's lots of Bombers have to do. Anything else we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about? Or are we moving on?
No, I got it. I want to see a victory. It's another home game. I can't imagine this Bomber team going 0-3. Again, it's a big game because we've had good games with BC over the last couple of years, and again, knocked them out of the playoffs. So BC is going to be wanting some of revenge again. And we saw the first game last year against BC how they came out. But BC's defense is susceptible. They haven't been playing good so far this year either, and they've given up 300 yards, I think, in both games. So the Bombers' offense has another opportunity to get it right.
Bomber fans, get out there. Let's get a sellout. Too bad they didn't get a sellout in their home opener to continue.
Yeah, it's still surprising.
What? What's your biggest takeaway from week 2 in the CFL?
For me, speaking of quarterbacks, like I don't know if defenses are worse this year in terms of yardage given up. Like I know it's not tons of points being scored, but yardage, like there was 4 quarterbacks who threw for over 300 yards this week, and then 3 others who were over 250, 270. Drew Brown was the only one that was under 250. So that to me is crazy because usually the defenses are ahead of the offenses kind of when the season starts, right? But to see that, I mean, it's good for the league. A lot of passing yards, not a lot of rushing yards. I think Armstead had the most at 95. So it's been a lot of passing to start this game. And I guess maybe it's like even for Saskatchewan, they've been down in both games. So it's like, hey, we got to throw because Oled has done not much on the ground in those 2 games. So yeah, that's a big thing for me so far.
That Ryder air taxing will be crazy this year. It's going to be crazy. My biggest takeaway after week 2 is teams have to start making game days an event. It takes money to make money. Yes, we all can't get 50 cents every week to come out, but even you look at the NFL in their opening weekend, they have pregame concerts with huge stars. So why isn't the CFL doing that? You know, days of banking on CFL diehards in markets like BC, Toronto, Calgary, even Edmonton. I just saw a game back here in my backyard. Commonwealth is just right there. Edmonton, and the game day experience in regards to what happens pregame, it's got to change. The CFL has to change to get people out of their homes into the stadiums. It's not just about hardcore season subscribers. You got to get new eyes into the game all the time, and we'll talk about Edmonton very quickly. But the success in BC, you know, sure, some people left by halftime, but you still had 40-something people, 1,000, whatever, and new faces coming to watch the game and being in the stadium and being at that environment, and they might come again. So you got to start doing that. That's my biggest takeaway from week 2.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You get 50 Cent in or someone like that. You bring in some new eyes. Hey, you're good if half of them or even a few of them, you know, in terms of numbers say, hey, that was actually a good game. I came here for 50 Cent. I stayed for the game. I enjoyed it. I'm going to come back next week, right? So even if you get 1,000 to 2,000, then next year you do it again. You bring someone else big in to start the season off, and maybe you attract another 1,000 or 2,000. You know, and then you start building from there, and then you got these full stadiums, and you start getting fans for life, right? I know 50 Cent is 50 Cent. Sorry, not cents. 50 Cent is a bit of an older act, but if you can get some younger acts as well to get the younger crowds in too, then that's where you start building that too, right?
Yeah, like Toronto. Come on. Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment owned. You can't call in a favor from Drake to do a pre-show. One favor from Drake. Come on. You got to market these games better, CFL teams. Like Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, they're solid. They can hire local bands and they'll still get 25, 30,000 plus out to a game. But y'all other markets, y'all got to be creative now.
Yeah, especially in Alberta, because Calgary and Edmonton both, right?
Yes, and they're not going to get any new stadiums anytime soon, it seems.
No.
Like Edmonton Stadium is huge and they can't fill that. They got to bring in where's Terry Clark or Katie Lang? Bring in that nonsense. Let's go. Come on, game day. They got to advertise game day. That's not though. They're great. It's just they're from Alberta. Anyway,
Yeah.
who's your CFL Power 3 after 2 weeks? Let's go from 3 to 2 to 1. Who do you got at number 3?
1.
Contact.
They haven't looked great in full games, but they're 2-0 right now. So I'm going to get Saskatchewan at number 3 in 2 comeback victories. So 2-0.
At 3, I got Toronto. I was really impressed by their first game. They had the week off, but they had Cameron Dukes. Yeah, I like the consistency with Dinwiddie, and they have amazing play in the trenches on both sides, the O line and D line. And when you're starting there, you're already in a good spot. So I got Toronto at 3. I'm gonna go with Saskatchewan at 2. I really like their offense. Yes, penalties are killing them.
Still,
they're a young team. They're enthusiastic. Coach Mace also has to learn to settle them down, but that'll come with experience. I think that's something that they can fix. But I think they're a tough team, and they'll have a solid D, and their passing game's gonna be crazy. So Saskatchewan too.
Yeah, they haven't really got it together yet fully, and they're 2-0. So that's definitely a good start because it should just build from there, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do Toronto at number 2 just after their week 1 win. They looked pretty good in taking down BC, and like you pointed out already, D-line, O-line looking pretty solid, and Cameron Dukes look good.
So I think we got the same number 1. Who you got on 1?
Winnipeg, right? No. Montreal, of course, Grey Cup champions, 2-0. On both on the road, right? So
Yeah.
that's a pretty good start for them to not even have played at home and being 2-0.
The Champs are looking good,
Yeah.
and they're composed. And yes, they beat the Bombers in the Grey Cup, but it now seems that they're finding their identity of being a team that'll grind it out, play physical football, and minimize their mistakes. That's who they are.
Yeah.
Like they're getting very close to playing, if you want to compare to NFL football, very Pittsburgh Steelers type football. Depend on your defense, don't make any huge mistakes, and you know what? Good coaching gets you big plays later on.
Yeah, Jason Moss has learned that well with Fajardo. He's a good quarterback, but he's not going to often carry you to victories in games, especially if you're asking him to do a lot, because eventually he'll make a mistake, which will prove costly. So yeah, he's been managing him pretty well,
and he's been avoiding those mistakes.
Yeah,
he's grown up in Montreal.
Yeah.
Shoot. And also his mistakes were due because Saskatchewan was not very good. They didn't have an O-line around that guy.
Yeah, but even last year to start with Montreal, he was still making these same mistakes over and over again, right? So
that's expected to be with a new squad, though.
Yeah,
it took them a while. When they got to go rolling, though.
Yeah,
Montreal. We can't sleep on Montreal. They are a good team, and they might be a good team for a while. We might be seeing a what do you call that? A dynasty making here.
Hope not.
They found a veteran quarterback that minimizes his mistakes with a solid defense. Where have we seen that before? The Bombers just now.
Yep.
I'm looking down here, but I should be looking up here any which way. We're going to Winnipeg Jets talk?
Yeah, let's do it.
Talk about the hirings of Dean, Chynoweth, and Davis Payne. I'll get those names right. Well, Chynoweth.
Yeah.
Talk about them. What do you think about those hirings?
Davis Payne is pretty easy.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I just looked up these guys today. Didn't know a lot about them. I'm going to say it wrong. Chynoweth? No.
Chynoweth. I think we got
Chynoweth, more on the defensive side of things. He was in Toronto lately. So he kind of led their D and their penalty kill, which ended up, around 11th in the league. Which is better than the Jets had shown here with who was running there. Oh, Scott Arneal was running their penalty kill. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then Davis Payne recently with Ottawa running the power play. Decent power play there again as well. Top 10 power play in teams that he's been with. Also a head coach in St. Louis, so that he brings that experience as well. Plus he's won a cup as an assistant with the Kings. So these guys seem middle of the pack type coaches for me right now until I can learn more about them. But I have nothing against the hires, and just hopefully they can make that special teams better and do what they're brought in to do and improve that from what we saw last year.
Yeah, O'Neill pointed out that each of them Each of the new hires has a portfolio of top 10 success on special teams. Payne, like you said, 67, 55, and 16 as a head coach before being replaced by Hitchcock. And he was 6-7 when he was
He got
replaced
fired. Yeah.
as head. That's crazy. So he's been with the Senators the past few years. Like it's crazy in the fact that he wasn't doing horribly.
No.
And he had a winning record. So he'll be running the power play and the forwards. Chynoweth is the one you're looking for with the penalty kill. And not that Scott Arniel was bad with the penalty kill. Yes, they weren't good last year, but the year before they were top 10, weren't they?
Yeah, they're really good. Big drop off.
So it'd be good to have two of them there that know the power play. He had a great power play with the Hurricanes. And the thing is with this guy's power play, penalty kill with Chynoweth, is that it's a more aggressive penalty kill. I hated watching the Winnipeg Jets penalty kill. This 4-man box just rotate, wherever the puck was. I'd rather see them force the puck, try and make turnovers, and try to score on the penalty kill. Not just this passive, let's just break it down and ice it. Break it down and ice it. No, let's be a more aggressive, try and make those turnovers. So I'm really excited about his possible penalty kill philosophy, mentality, whatever it is.
It's funny though with the penalty kill that you mentioned that, because the year before obviously they were good and they were scoring shorthanded goals, and then they switched to whatever they're doing this year, which no shorthanded goals and passive like that, like you were saying. And to me, the power play almost mimicked that. Just they had 5 guys on the ice, right? Because it's just pass, back, go down to the net, come back, pass. And it was like, come on. I can figure out what you're doing here, and I don't know much about hockey coaching or anything like that. So if I can do it, they can do it, and they're watching tape every day. They can figure out that your power play is lacking something. So yeah, hopefully new voices in there, and we'll see what they can do. But nothing against these hires right now, so I'll give them a chance.
I'm with you on that one. Let's go on to quick shots. If you're Edmonton Elks management, what are you doing to increase attendance? You remember back in the day when the Bombers gave away those high school vouchers 2 for 1? They got to start doing that stuff. Old school. Time to start giving out free tickets. The stadium right now is cavernous at 15,000. Unless they bring in 25 to 30,000 people in these games, it's not a good game day experience in the stadium. Yeah. Like I mentioned, you got to bring stuff like 50 Cent. Game day has to be an event. It needs to be, people got to have a reason to come down to it. So yeah, free tickets, 2 for 1, whatever it takes.
Yeah, and for me, the biggest thing is start to win some games, though. Chris Jones, it's time, man. And you can't be trotting out this team again that continues to lose games late or anything like that. It's time to start putting some W's, because that'll attract people, right? The Bombers, yes, the Bombers are still attracting 20,000 or so when we were losing, but once they started winning, it got back up to 30,000. So I think that's where they're gonna have to focus. And if Chris Jones can't do it, you may have to be looking at a different direction. But I do agree in the sense, get butts in the seats, and if it takes giving a 2 for 1 voucher out to get these guys, and especially we've talked about this, get the younger people out there. You need this league. We're a lot of older people that enjoy this game, so we need to get the younger guys back in there and be fans for life, right? Because the NFL is huge right now. The NFL fantasy football is a lot bigger from when we were younger. There was really no fantasy football, and it wasn't that readily available. So now a lot of people have attracted that way because of that. So yeah, the CFL needs to market better. They need to start these seasons off and your home opener with a bang, attract some guys in there. But yeah, totally.
The Elks are rebuilding a brand here. Like, let's admit it. There is a large amount of mouth-breathing losers that are still butthurt about the change of name. Like, it's ridiculous. There are enough stupid people in the area to not support a team because of a nickname change. So they got to say, screw them. Forget about getting them back. They're not coming back. It's time to rebrand it.
Yeah.
What happened to quick shots? Which of the current NFL wide receivers is in the best position to break 2,000 yards?
I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb. Dallas likes to throw a lot. They don't really have good options at running back. Who else is there to take targets away from him? I'm not saying he's the best receiver. I'm not saying that. But he is the main option in that offense. Justin Jefferson, to me, would be if Kirk Cousins was still there. But Justin Jefferson has Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. So Tyreek Hill's also good, but he's got other people to deal with Waddle and running. So
I was shocked. I thought we would get a different answer on this one. I got CeeDee Lamb. There's no running game in Dallas. They'll be playing from behind. They play the Commanders, the Eagles, and the Giants, who all gave up more than 4,000 yards passing.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, possibly, but the AFC East, none of the teams gave up more than 4,000 yards passing against. So I got CeeDee Lamb as well. After the most recent social media post, will Ayuk be a 49er beyond this season? No. And that's probably best for both situations right now. You can go because that's your team.
Yeah, I say no as well. And I don't even know if he'll be a member this season. We'll see where it goes unless if someone steps up and does it. But I think the Niners like the guys they drafted. The first rounder, Ricky Purcell, and this other guy, Jacob Cowing, that they dropped in the 4th round. I think after these OTAs, they liked what they saw. So they're like, you know what, Ayuk, go ahead, man. We're not paying you $30 million.
Yeah. What's that dude they had that turned it up at the end of last season too? And he was great.
Juwan Jennings.
Yes. I think he will be great.
That guy was fantastic in the playoffs with him.
That's what I'm saying. What are you taking away from the 8-1 Oilers win? They said goodbye to their fans in a great way. That's what I'm taking away from that.
Yeah, great win. They showed they can win a game at least, but I think Florida was probably preoccupied with a lot of other things going on. So I think for Florida tomorrow night or whatever will be a lot more focused than they were in this one.
I'm working in Edmonton right now, and I work downtown. I was walking downtown. There are a lot of Florida Panthers jerseys downtown. I'm like, what a waste of a flight that was.
Yeah, that sucks, eh?
Why didn't you stay in Miami and watch it on TV?
Probably a lot of them were family.
Yeah, and there's no way that there's that many Florida Panthers fans in Edmonton.
No.
Or in Canada.
That'd be crazy, actually.
Thoughts on the Minnesota hockey team in the PWHL picking Brittany Curl? Controversy because of her posts online against LGBT and color folks.
Yeah, that's an interesting pick for a team in a women's league. I don't know, like what were you thinking, really, Minnesota, in this? Like, not only does she go after transgender women, she goes after Black people. Like, she's just like, I don't know, like all mocking inclusive language posts. It's like, wow, what are you doing? So yeah, terrible pick for me. To see a team like that do that instead of trying to build this league.
This is such an NHL move.
Yeah, that's so true.
You'd expect this from NHL culture. It's like this happened the day after Mike Babcock was rehired by someone. Like, of course. So it's a little surprising to me. I'll give the person a chance. I'll give Brittany Curl a chance. She had this great little cute video about, oh, sorry about my little post. Nah. Whatever. You better fix some of your ignorance, lady. Like, it wasn't get on just the community, work, and learn.
Yeah, it wasn't just one thing, though, right? If it was one thing, you can kind of be like, okay, but it is like multiple things, and it's just like build up over time. It's like, wow, okay, yeah, now you gave us this video, but yeah, show us now, right?
Yeah. She could be simple for change, but I don't put no money on that. Benny, you have anything to say to our friends and Bomber fans? And I know we're in tough times, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Don't worry.
Hang in there, Bomber fans. You know, the rest of the league, the rest of the fans are probably looking at it and going, enjoying this because they were waiting for the downfall of the Bombers. But long season, let's buckle in and hope it goes well and have a good week.
Good message. You know, it's tough being online, seeing all these messages, but at the same time, it's funny knowing that we live rent-free in Saskatchewan Rough Riders fans' heads. And in the words of LeVar Burton, we'll see y'all next time. Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.